Have you ever heard of Marxism? I grew up in a country where Marxism was prevalent, and I have conducted thorough research on Marxism. My thesis is that Marx divided the capitalist society into three main classes. While the labor theory of value provides theoretical structure by the conclusion of this speech, I'm going to give you an understanding of the two most classical theories of Marx, so that you can understand what the class, the labor theory, and value are, and how they apply to capitalist society. Now that I have explained what the speech will discuss, I will start by explaining what the class is. Karl Marx stated that the theory of all hitherto extending society is the history of class struggles. Marx believed that class was determined by the means of production and the state of the productive forces. He divided the capitalist society into three levels: the working class, the bourgeoisie, and the landlord class. The income of these three groups comes from wages, profits, and rent respectively. For example, most of the workers in the factories are working class because they can get paid by selling their labor. The owners of the factories were bourgeoisie because the owners made their money mainly by making the profits of the factory. The owner of the landlord belonged to landlord class because they made money by renting the land and even the buildings on it. Now that I have explained what the class is, I will briefly talk about what the labor theory of value is. The labor theory of value is that the value of a thing depends on the amount of the labor it takes to produce it. The value of good is determined by average labor productivity of industry, not by individual labor productivity of companies. For example, if the average labor production rate for a pair of slippers is 10 minutes, then the value of this slipper on the market is only worth 10 minutes. In the May of 2018, Mike Cable noted that without the labor forces of workers, capitalists cannot make profits and the system about the capitalist society cannot function properly. In the real world, the worker's salary is equal to the money he needs to feed himself, his family, and the money he needs to train. For example, the worker actually only needs to work for 5 hours to get what he needs, but the capitalist may require the worker to work for 8 hours. Those extra 3 hours essentially surplus value, which is the profit for the capitalist. In 2003, Easterling stated that in order to make more money than he started with, the capitalist will try to pay the worker as little as possible for his labor and try to get as much labor out of the worker as possible. On the one hand, the capitalist will make the worker work longer to increase the absolute surplus value. On the other hand, the capitalist will raise the relative surplus value by increasing the productivity of individual labor. For example, the capitalist makes the worker work the hour a day, 10 hours a day instead of 8. If the capitalist buys more machinery and the workers work the same number of hours, then the relative surplus value goes up. Now that I have informed you about what the labor theory of value is, let's conclude. Marx divided the capitalist society into three main classes, while the labor theory of value provides theoretical support of the bourgeoisie exploiting the working class. There are three classes in capitalist society: the working class, the bourgeoisie, and the landlord class. The labor force of the workers becomes a commodity in the capitalist society. Capitalists constantly exploit the surplus value of workers in order to make more profits. More and more people began to study Marxism, trying to find answers in Marxism to analyze capitalism. In modern times, it is very important to know something about Marxism.